Good day, viewers. You are once again welcome to the Let's Talk Weather program with the Ghana Meteorological Agency. We, being the sole state institution responsible for the provision of weather and climate services, our weather forecast covers the entire country, and today we will be discussing the various sectors into which the forecast is classified. We are privileged to have with us Mr. Joshua Asamoah, a senior meteorologist with the Central Analysis and Forecast Office. He will assist us gain a deeper understanding of these sectors and how they are used in the forecast. My name is Patricia Enchi. So, Joshua, we usually see the forecast categorized under some sectors. Could you tell us the reason for this categorization?
Sure, thank you very much. So there are two different kinds of forecasts that go out of the forecast office. One of them is a location-specific forecast, where we tell you whether it's going to rain over Wa, Tamale, or anywhere in the country. That kind of forecast does not really need to cover some sectors within the country, because it's just for a specific area within Ghana. But outside this forecast, that's what we call the outlook, where we try to give an overview of how the weather is going to look like in the next 1 week, or in the next 2 weeks, or in the next 3 days over some areas within Ghana. But because the weather is actually similar for some areas within the country, we try to break them down into these classifications so that the outlook will cover these sectors with similar climatic conditions, and we don't have to reproduce the information for every location in the country. So outside the 24-hour forecast, which is done for locations in the country, we have the outlooks, which will cover the sectors that have similar climatic conditions across the country.
Okay, so can you tell us now we know why we do the classification. So can you tell us what these sectors are?
Sure. So we used to have just 3 sectors: the coastal sector, the middle sector, and then the northern sector. But we realized that some areas were still left out. For instance, if you've lived within the Greater Accra region, you realize that areas very close to the ocean, around Tema, Spintex areas, the weather there is a bit different from those that are a bit inland, that's around Medina, Pokwasi areas. And so there was a need to break the coastal sector into 2 different sectors. So now we have the coastline, which is the areas that are very close to the ocean. So if you start from the Volta region, we're talking about Aplao, Keta, Anloga, Tema, Adan. Then you go to the central region, we have Cape Coast, Elmina, Anomabo, all the way to Salt Pond. Then you go to the western region, Takrade, Sekendi, you have Axim, Isiama, Hafasini, Nkrofo. All these areas are very close to the coast, and so their weather is a bit different. The influence from the ocean affects them, and so we classify them as the coastline area. Then as you move inland of the coastal sector, you go to the slightly north of the coastline. So for areas in the Greater Accra, we are talking about Medina, Pokwase, Amasaman, Afienya, those areas. If you go to the Volta region, we're talking about Akachi areas. Coming into the eastern region, we have Somenya, Asaman Kese, all these areas. Even parts of the Wenya areas are still slightly north of the coastline. In the central region, we are talking about Asimfosu, Agona, Suedro, Chifu Praso. These areas are all inland areas of the coastal sector. And then in the western region, Takwa, Pristia, Bogoso areas. These are the slightly north of the coastline. Then outside this, we have the areas that are particularly within the forest zone. So now that's what we call the middle sector. And this is majority of the Ashanti region, the eastern region, Volta, and parts of the western north as well. So Seshuyoso, Seshubekwai, going into the Ashanti region, Obuase, Kumase areas, Asante Bekwai. And in the eastern region, we have Nsawim areas, going into Nkoko, Koforidia, Akemodan, all those Akwetia areas, Suhum, all these areas. And then in the Volta region, now Ho areas, Hohoi areas will also come into play. So that's the middle sector. Then from there, we go to the transition area. That's the area that links the middle sector to the northern sector. That is basically the Oti region. So Ketekrache, Dambai, Adonkwanta, Raura, these areas, and even parts of the northern region, Pandai, Bimbila, Salaga areas. These are the southern portions of the northern region, and so they fall into the transition zone. If you move into the Bono East, Oti region and Ahafo regions, too, we have Prang, Yeji areas, Atebubu, Wenchi areas. These are all parts of the transition zone. Banda, Sampa, all these areas fall into the zone. The weather within these areas are also similar. Then outside that, we have the last sector, which is the northern sector, and that covers the rest of the northern region. So the entire upper east region, northeast region, upper west region, Savannah, and then the rest of the northern region. So Tamale, Yendi, Bupe areas going into Damongo, Wale, you go into Bolga areas, Wa, all these areas fall within the northern sector. So that's the classification we have for our outlaws.
Thank you very much, Joshua. This has been very educative and insightful. It was a pleasure having you. Now we know what we mean when we say the transition belt, the coastal belt, and the middle sector. This has been the Let's Talk Weather program with the Ghana Meteorological Agency. Thank you.